The capitalist, asleep in the sun, let such long words crawl all over him like so many long, soft, furry caterpillars. Caterpillars cannot sting like wasps, and in repeating that the old Marxians have been, perhaps, the best and bravest men of our time, I say also that they would have been better and braver still if they had never used a scientific word, and never read anything but fairy tales. The beastly individualist. Suppose I go on to a ship, and the ship sinks almost immediately. But I, like the people in the Bab Ballads, by reason of my clinging to a mast upon a desert island, am eventually cast. Or rather, suppose I am not cast on it, but am kept bobbing about in the water, because the only man on the island is what some would call an individualist, and will not throw me a rope, though coils of rope of the most annoying elaboration and neatness are conspicuous beside him as he stands upon the shore. Now it seems to me that if in my efforts to shout at this fellow creature across the crashing breakers I call his position the insularistic position, and my position the semi-amphibian position, much valuable time may be lost. I am not an amphibian. I am a drowning man, and he is not an insularist or an individualist. He is a beast. Or rather, he is worse than any beast can be. And if, instead of letting me drown, he makes me promise while I am drowning that if I come on shore it shall be as his bodily slave, having no human claims henceforward for ever, then by the whole theory and practice of capitalism he becomes a capitalist. He also becomes a cad. Now the language of poetry is simpler than that of prose, as anyone can see who has read what the old-fashioned Protestant used to call, confidentially, his Bible. And being simpler, it is also truer. And being truer, it is also fiercer. And for most of the infamies of our time there is really nothing plain enough except the plain language of poetry. Take, let us say, the case of the recent railway disaster and the acquittal of the capitalist interests. It is not a scientific problem for us to investigate. It is a crime committed before our eyes, committed perhaps by blind men or maniacs, or men hypnotised, or men in some other way unconscious, but committed in broad daylight, so that the corpse is bleeding on our doorstep. Good lives were lost because good lives do not pay, and bad coals do pay. It seems simply impossible to get any other meaning out of the matter except that. And if in human history there be anything simple and anything horrible, it seems to have been present in this matter. If even after some study and understanding of the old religious passions which were the resurrection of Europe, we cannot endure this extreme infamy of witches and heretics literally burned alive, well, the people in this affair were quite as literally burned alive. And if, when we have really tried to extend our charity beyond the borders of personal sympathy to all the complexity of class and creed, we still feel something insolent about the triumphant and acquitted man who is in the wrong, here the men who are in the wrong are triumphant and acquitted. It is no subject for science. It is a subject for poetry, but poetry of a terrible sort. The end of section 13. The end of the Utopia of Usurers and Other Essays.
Thanks for joining us. If you like what we're doing here, thoughtful, cozy, rebellious, go ahead and subscribe. Tell your friends or enemies. We really do celebrate with every new subscriber. We appreciate it.